So, hello, everybody. I am Paige Lee. I'm co-founder of Transcending Grief, and it is October 21st. I had to check my watch on that. Time is flying by, isn't it? But Kat and I formed Transcending Grief, gosh, about 2.5 years ago now. And one of the events that I brought to the group earlier last year was our member spotlight, because you all have such amazing stories and you have so many services that you provide other people who are in the grief community, or just amazing stories of validation in the afterlife, all of those things, right? And it's important that we know each other, that we support each other on this journey. So that's why we're doing this. And from the very first one of those that I did earlier this year, Renee and I, my friend Renee Kessler Miller and I, have talked about getting her on here, and it took us 9, 10 months, but we finally got you here, and I couldn't be happier, Renee, to have you with us. So I'm going to read her and just do a quick introduction for her. Other than my friend, Renee is a mother in the grieving community, or if you will, shining light community. She's a member of Transcending Grief, and she has attended. I met you because you attended the first Transcending Grief retreat that Kat and I did in Connecticut, not this year, but the previous year. So anyhow, you also have a baby in spirit, as I have several babies in spirit. So we really bonded over that. And you're just a ball of energy, and I love you. And your daughter Ariana in spirit is also just dear to my heart. That girl has energy that is so big, and her wisdom so profound, that it's no surprise that you are her mother and that you continue to work with her in spirit. So that's all from me to you. But officially, for all of y'all to know, Renee Miller is a licensed marriage and family therapist in California. She has over 20 years of experience helping clients reduce their symptoms of depression, anxiety, grief, and trauma. Renee is no stranger to trauma and loss herself. As I said, at the age of 21, she lost her full-term baby a few hours after birth from complications during the birth of her son, Timothy. And then fast forwarding to married life and two daughters later, Ariana and Sophia, or Sophia. Ariano, being the oldest, was a Spitfire, always on the move, curious, creative, loving, and such a loyal friend. You look exactly alike, the two of you. So no question that she's your daughter. But unfortunately, on February 7th of 2021, the unthinkable happened, and Ariana lost her battle and transitioned due to an accidental overdose at 22 years of age. Working through this grief has been the biggest challenge in Renee's life, as we can all relate to. And it also has enabled her to deepen her work immensely with her clients. She has a very active client base within her practice. And one of the things that she discovered along the way was brain spotting. And trauma work with brain spotting has become a specialty of Renee's work, and helps clients with grief and trauma to process the emotions and deep sadness stored in the body. So I know that there's many of us who could benefit from that, from your expertise in that area, and for all of the things that you have to share with us today. So I know that was a long introduction, but welcome, Renee. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's so interesting for me because I've been a client in this group, and now I'm trying to kind of straddle both sides. I'm still very much a client, very much in my own grief process. It's not 4 years until February for Ariana. So still having to kind of process and do my own healing work, every week. But I'm starting to try to kind of bridge the two more and tell people what I do, because I've been a therapist for over 20 years, and so I my life is about helping people. It's always been about helping people. So that being said, I'll back up a little bit and just go into the story a little bit more, and then the work that I do. So when I was 20, I was in college and I got pregnant, and I decided to keep this baby. So I came home. I lived with my sister, and we were pregnant together. She was pregnant with her second child. turns out the babies were 4 days apart. So that's like a story in of itself. And so she had her baby I was 2 weeks late. She had her baby on a Monday. It was a Monday when she finally gave birth. And I was holding up one of her legs, and her little girl was really her boy. The head popped out and we said, oh my God. Oh my God, it was supposed to be a girl. She looked so much like Brian, her older brother. Well, it was David. It wasn't Andrea. So it was a little girl. It was a little boy. Anyway, I went into labor that night. This is in one household with one man who was there for her birth, and there I was single at the time, and there for me. So I ended up having Timothy on Friday. It was a very slow labor, and it was a really hard labor. And, when we talk about just knowing, how we talk about the signs and just knowing, I knew before they told me that he had passed away. So that was kind of my first sign. And of course, I was so young, I grieved, but I knew I had my whole life ahead of me. And I grieved, yet I put it aside. And I went back to school, I worked, I knew I would have another family someday. So, um, fast forward at 27, I started school to become a therapist. I went through a lot of my own growth and my own trauma from my own upbringing. And so it made me know that I wanted to go and help other people. So at 27, I went back to school. I met my husband when I was 29. And, I went to school. I took my boards. We had two girls, Ariana and Sophia. And Ariana was special from the very beginning. She didn't sleep. She was always on the go, super curious, super creative, super funny, loved food, loved art. We'd be in a restaurant and she'd like toddle up to somebody's table and go, "What is that? What are you eating?" I mean, she ended up being a chef later, but she was really creative and just was really curious and loved to have fun. What was hard about that was school and rules and all those other things that we all have to kind of abide by and fall into. She had a really tough time with that. And she had ADHD. So, we spent a lot of our time not only having a lot of fun with her, but trying to help her. And there was a lot of, going to doctors and getting her diagnosed and doing all kinds of different things from when she was very little. And so, she did really pretty well until she hit middle school. And middle school, with the whole drug thing, she started experiment with drugs, and she found things, especially marijuana, that would help her calm her nervous system down. Little girl, I felt so bad for her. She always had like sweaty hands, she was just amped. We could not get her nervous system calm. So the marijuana started, and then somebody had given her Xanax somewhere along the line early in high school, and she got addicted to Xanax. So we put her in treatment. We had to do the whole Utah thing. It was pretty awful, but it helped her. And we visited her once a month. And she started cooking for the girls in the house and realizing she really liked it. And the month after she got out of treatment, she got hired by a big, well-known restaurant in San Francisco, Foreign Cinema. And she actually stayed there for 4 years. She learned all the stations. She loved it. And it was really strange because she hated rules. And talk about rules. There was a hierarchy there. She had to fall in, but she did it. We were like, who is this kid? She was able to she wanted it bad enough. And so she ended up leaving there and working in 2 more Michelin star restaurants by the time she was 21. So she had a career. I'm so thankful for that now. But when COVID hit, the restaurant shut down and her world shut down. And so she was with us a lot, even though she was living in San Francisco. We were in Oakland. She'd come back and forth, and she was part of our little group. And she just didn't know what to do with herself. This is a kid that needed to be busy. I kind of think of it as a secondary loss of COVID. It's the people that actually passed away from COVID. And then it's all the people that had so many problems because of COVID. And she was one of those people. And she started using more Xanax, which, don't get me started on that. I think it's a horrible drug, especially for somebody that's got issues and has addictive qualities. It's so addictive. And I don't even think it made her feel good anymore. But at one point in 21, that day in February, she went to get more Xanax in Sacramento, and then she ended up with I can't, it's really hard for me because I know a lot of kids have passed from fentanyl. She did have fentanyl in her system, but it wasn't in the pill that she took, and she had so many other things in her system. Even the coroner said, well, there was a lot there and like a speck of fentanyl. We don't know. We think it was the combination of everything. And so we got that terrible call that I know some of you have gotten, and went through the same things that you have had to go through with dealing with that. So, that coupled with like the work that I do, I'm really trying to kind of convey how they kind of intersect. I used to do EMDR all the time, and I actually learned brain spotting before Ari passed, and I like it better because it's there's a I think you can be much more creative with it. You don't have to go into the trauma, although some people want to. Some people are not opposed to that, but you can also do an expansion model where you're talking about what you want to feel. What, like for something like this kind of a loss, you could even go, okay, this happened. This terrible thing happened. What's the best you could possibly think of feeling, even though this happened? And you can brain spot that. And then everything that gets in the way of that will come up.
So
So,
Renee, I just want to, so just to be clear, so EMDR, for people that don't know what that
yeah,
is what?
it's eye movement reprocessing and desensitization. And I'll back up. Thank you,
Okay.
Blair. You got
Yeah.
to keep me, explaining things. Both of these modalities use bilateral stimulation. And EMDR, we used to do this with our fingers, or there would be lights that you would look at. I had little tappers that would give you a tap in each hand. And the bilateral is part of what helps our brains reprocess trauma, because it's almost like a broken record. When you have flashbacks and things like that, it gets stuck in one place. And the bilateral hits both sides of the brain so we can actually fully reprocess something. And both are similar that way. With brain spotting, we use music, which I love because you can pick the music you like, but it's bilateral music. So you have earphones in,
Oh, cool.
and then I do it both online and in person. Both work fine. And so you're listening to the music, and then you're tapping into you can start wherever you want. It can be where just a feeling in your body. It's very somatic too. I think it's more somatic than EMDR. It's an offshoot of EMDR. Just so you know, big EMDR guy created this. And so as opposed to having your eyes go back and forth, we have pointer. I don't know if you guys can see it. And we would set it all up ahead of time where you feel it in your body. Let's say you're having a reoccurring nightmare or a reoccurring vision of something that's happened, you can't get through it, or an emotion that will not, you just can't shake it. We start wherever. It's like the door goes in and it goes to where it needs to go. um and then we have you kind of set it up so that I'll run this across your field, and as you think about what we're talking about, you can kind of tell where it needs to be, because you'll feel it. You'll either feel an uptick of the emotion, or you'll feel an uptick of the positive that you're trying to get to, and so we know that's where it is. And then we go up and down this line too to see, is it higher or lower? And we just, it's actually very easy for the therapist to do this, because I sit there with the pointer right here, wherever it is for you, and we just have you go with whatever comes up for you. So let's just say, okay, I got this feeling in my chest, I can't breathe. I'd say, okay, let's just be with that feeling in your chest right now. Breathe into that area, give that space. And then it might shift up into your throat. Okay, see what that is. A lot of times tears will want to come. Just allow whatever needs to come to come. That, and then usually it's kind of like, then it subsides a bit, and the person might say, I feel a lot lighter in my chest and my throat. And I say, okay, make space for that. We want to make space for the lighter to come in. So I say very little. They call it following the tail of the comet as the therapist. You don't, I don't intervene a lot. We might process a lot after the session, but not during the session. Um, so it works like this. If I'm in the room with somebody, I actually sit quite close to them and hold space with them so they feel held. It's called an attunement model. So we're attuning to the client's just where the client is and to create safety. And I feel like this work is really profound. It's spiritual. They almost say it in the trainings, like they call it, they have soul spots where you can, reach your higher self or it's very spiritual and it leads people. The reason I think it dovetails nicely with this group is it weaves back into what we're all talking about of connecting with our kids in spirit and connecting with our spirit guides and our higher self, because people get higher wisdom coming in when they do this work. I see it all the time. And so it leads people back to that connection. Um, so yeah, and I think for me, it's so healing for me to be able to do this for other people. And I think losing two children and plus all other traumas I've been through in my life, I know what it feels like. I know what this type of loss feels like. I know the grief. I feel like I have a lot of empathy for people and can really, I think they feel that from me. So I can really understand where they're coming from. Um,
Well, let
so
me ask you a question. So, and I'm sure our group, the audience has some questions too.
sure.
So we're in a session, right? You're my therapist, and Lord knows I need one some days. And you've got your wand, and I'm telling you a story, right? So I'm saying I'm upset about something. Perhaps, for example, it's that even though I was never there, perhaps in my mind's eye, I'm going back to my son's moment of death, right?
Right. Right.
But I wasn't there. So you're going to ask me to tell the story, and I'm going to tell the story as I know it. And the
Yeah.
wand is going to,
Well,
you're going to move the wand
well,
based on
I'm gonna first ask you where you feel it in your body. Because
where I feel it in my
I'm
body.
gonna say, okay, as you're telling me the story, where is it in your body?
Okay.
And then I'm gonna
And,
say, is there any emotion attached to that when you're talking? And then I'm gonna have you hold that. And then we're gonna find your spot as you're holding that.
that's an interesting question. Is there any emotion attached? Because in most of our cases, I would presume yes, there's a great degree of emotion, but I can almost see situations maybe outside of our grief community where somebody might want this work done with them, but they don't hold emotion. Does that? I mean, I can almost see that that could happen
Oh,
if it
yeah.
were a more like I don't. Well, I can't think of an example, but I know what you mean by that. But I'm trying to figure out what's happening within me. So let's say I'm telling you the story and you're moving the wand, and
Mhm.
then at some point, how does the healing occur in me? I'm listening to the music, and by the way, somebody had asked, can you use binaural beat music, or
I I think
or
you
can
could.
I use rock and roll? Can I use my rock and roll?
I
Like
think you
what
can use anything, but binaural
anything?
beats it's good because it's bilateral. I believe it's
It
bilateral.
is,
So
yes, yeah.
yes, you could definitely use that. You can use
Okay,
EMDR music. That's bilateral or brain spotting music. Anything
yeah,
bilateral you can use.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, just for everybody else's
Yeah.
benefit, what happens. So if you identify at a particular point in my storytelling because what you're doing is you're trying to take me back to the positive feeling. Is that
No,
repeat
we're not
that
starting.
again?
We're starting, everybody's different.
Yeah.
So some people really want to start with what's bothering them,
Mm.
not always to the positive. Some people want to do the expanded spot. We work it out together where you want to.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Some
Okay.
people want to go into the trauma. Some
Mm.
people want to go into the expanded spot of how they want to feel.
Oh,
Just
I like that. Okay. Yeah.
and so for this community, that's a great way to
Mm.
do it because it's like
Mm.
I want to feel lighter. I want to feel connected to my child and spirit. I want to know they're with me. I want to be able to have joy and peace.
Okay.
We go there. And then we also go with, well, what's some of the things keeping you from that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's more of an expanded spot.
Okay, I love that. I don't have any trauma over my son's passing, but I certainly know a lot of people who are in the grief community who do have trauma over
Yeah.
that. But I already got mixed up. You don't have to go back to that point of trauma, which in EMDR you do. You're constantly being brought back to that point of trauma. Is that correct? But with brain spotting, we can go to the positive outcome and work from there.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, even with EMDR, you can still go to where it is in the body and to how you want to
mm,
feel. I think there's just more flexibility with it. It's less of a pedagogy. It's much stricter with EMDR. With brain spotting, we have a lot more creativity, which I like. And to be honest with you, it moves faster. It's like a laser, and it kind of goes it goes where you need it to go.
like Reiki.
I'm so glad you brought
Yes,
that.
Reiki. That's right. You're Reiki master or Reiki
Well, I'm not a
certified.
Reiki master. I
Yeah.
just have done Reiki 1 and 2, but I do combine Reiki with some of my clients while they're brain spotting. And that has been really powerful because sometimes people will get a little stuck or things will loop, and I'll ask them, can I do a little Reiki on you? And it almost always moves the energy for them. So doing the combination of both has been really fun and great for people as well,
Oh, that's awesome.
or
Yeah,
just
good.
to relax their nervous system. Sometimes people are really amped, and just to relax, I'll do a little Reiki with them as well. So that's been really fun.
April, do you have a question for Renee? Do you want to jump on and share your experience? She's had, it looks like, some EMDR experience for some physical trauma that she went through. So I don't know. I don't know, April, you're willing to jump on if you want to. You can just unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yeah, like I didn't really have a question or anything, but it's just I was introduced to this to brainwave entrainment when EMDR failed. It got to a point because as with EMDR, you're always going back to that trauma,
Right.
and it got to a point where it caused me to like completely dissociate really badly to the point where
Yeah,
it's like for almost a week, and it just it didn't work. And then I was introduced to brainwave entrainment, and I do it for a lot of stuff, and it's been amazing.
that's great. That's
But
really, yeah,
I haven't done it like I want like I don't know. I didn't do it for like any like emotional trauma because March will be 4 years since I lost my sister. So
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I think everybody's got to find what works for them. And there's so many different modalities. I'm not that clear on what brainwave entrainment is, but I think it's a little subtler than
well
going
so
back to the trauma.
brainwave entrainment is basically like binaural beats um where you'll hear like one tone in like your right ear, another one in your left, and then that creates a third tone in the brain
Mm,
that can help with just like I don't know, just like relaxing.
yeah,
Um well just relaxing mentally, muscles, tendons, anything. There's so many different frequencies that help with different things. I'm huge into sound healing.
yeah. Sound healing is wonderful. I mean, that's what I mean. And, my journey has been doing all of these things. I've done brain spotting, I've done a lot of sound healing, a lot of meditation, a lot of
Yeah,
listening to
yeah.
the
And
pages.
then like body-based therapies too. So
Yeah, lots of body therapies. I think that this is just one of many things that people can do. And I think it really helps my clients. It relieves the pressure, especially in the body. And I'm finding that people are able to hold more joy for longer and more connection with their loved ones. And just and to be honest with you, I don't just do brain spotting. I do talk therapy too. And because I have these experiences, I bring this into my work with people. Like I know in my heart that there's a greater reality. And I know some of these people that I'm working with don't know that and don't have that. So I find ways to plant seeds for them in a way they can hear it to help them understand there's more than just our stories here, which I've learned, right, since going through this. And so I think that's how Ariana and Timothy helped me by showing me all the signs that they show me, and I'll ask them in my sessions, okay, where does this person need to go? And I do get guided. I do get guided by them. So, um, I guess what I want you guys to know is that this is just out there for you, and it's one of many things that can really help you.
Well,
And go ahead.
I did a little research because, as you know, I know you've explained it to me a dozen times and I'm still like, what is it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did a little, and I just wanted to read for everybody this one, the thing that I found. It says brain spotting is a highly effective therapy for treating stress, anxiety, trauma, addictions, as we know, et cetera, unhealthy habits, right? So breaking of healthy habits. What it does is it engages our innate drive to release sensory residue or unresolved experiences and opens us up, which is the part I love, which is what you were talking about, opens us up to new insights, equilibrium, regulation, and improved overall health. So,
Yeah.
yeah, to me, that's what I would come for, would be something like that, not so much the trauma release, but of course,
Yeah.
many people need the trauma release. And
Yeah, there's so many things. And think of it
yeah.
like this, when we're just talking like this and regular just talking to each other, talk therapy, it's neocortex to neocortex. It's up here. Brain spotting gets subcortical. You actually go subcortical when you do brain spotting. You're not being hypnotized, but you do go deep into the brain stem where we hold subconscious material and somatic material. And people will sometimes shake like an animal shakes. They'll
Mm.
shake a little bit, or they'll get like a pain in their body, a real big ache when we're doing this, and then it'll subside. So it's so somatic. It's really moving it through the body, and
How many sessions does one normally, like, is there an average of how many sessions it would take till they felt that they'd reached the point they wanted to reach?
it's so different for everybody. I have clients that just want to keep coming and do it
Mhm.
every 3 sessions, and I have people that just want to come in for a specific trauma or a specific thing. So I'd say anywhere from 4 to 20 sessions, depending
Oh,
on the
wow.
person.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. So they love it so much, they just wanna keep coming to always, it's almost like always reaching for the next highest plateau.
Well, they like to come to see me, and
Yeah,
then
well,
they
there
come
you
in for
go,
brain
yes.
spotting
That's
maybe
I
every 2
get
or
that.
3 sessions, and then we talk for the other session, and they get a lot out of that too.
Oh,
So,
that's so cool. I love that. Let's see who had a question. Somebody had Karen had a question. If you can do these sessions over Zoom.
I can. I do a
Yeah,
lot of
and
them over Zoom.
you're not limited to California?
Well, I'm kinda trying to figure that out. I'm licensed in California, but I have a couple of people that I'm actually being a coach for in other
Yeah.
states, and I'm trying to have another umbrella, so I am working that out to be able
Yeah.
to do both.
Different regulations, I'm
Mhm.
sure. Yes.
Mhm.
So, yeah, well, good. Well, whatever it takes to let you share that gift with more people, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm figuring that out. And then April's mentioning something called color breathing. I know breath work in general can be so healing. Also for trauma related.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I don't know about. Tell me more about the color breathing.
April, if you want to.
Okay, so basically what color breathing is let's say like you're just like your brain's going in like off on a tangent, or you're just like in a panic.
Yeah,
Um you think about like a color that's calming you, and then you inhale the icky, and then exhale the purple, and then just keep the calming color, and then just keep going until, at least like for me, it's I see like a wave of like purple wash over me
Mm.
until I feel really calm again.
that's wonderful. Another really good technique that I teach my clients, I don't do it so much myself during, for several sessions in a row, but I teach them, you've probably heard of this emotional freedom technique
Mm.
where you do the tapping.
I was going to ask you earlier because something that you said sounded very similar to tapping, and I was going to ask you if
Yeah.
it's kind of like tapping is maybe the lower end of those types of therapies, not the lower end, but you know what I mean. Just kind of like
I mean,
a
tapping,
beginner
yeah,
stage of that
tapping.
kind of therapy.
Yeah, I mean, tapping is a therapy in of itself. I
Hmm.
just never really like, I couldn't see myself just tapping every session. I think I like to talk. I would have to fit. And so, but I do teach my clients how to do emotional freedom technique. And that's another thing. If you're really triggered, you're having a really bad day, you're really triggered either with anxiety or depression or memories, intrusive thoughts, you can do emotional freedom technique and learn and tap. And then you say like, even though I'm having these memories right now, I completely and totally love and accept myself. And you learn to tap all the acupressure points. And there's actually tutorials online for it. It's pretty well known. There's an app. Somebody created an app for it.
Yeah.
But it's really effective. And if you're at like a 10 on the disturbance scale, you can bring yourself down to a 5 just by tapping.
It's amazing. I oftentimes just will tap just, at the collarbone, and just like if I'm having some kind of a panic attack or something, I'll just do this to calm me down. I don't
Right.
even go through the whole protocol. I know how to do that, but I don't use it in my coaching either. But there's so much great. Is it Nick Ortner? Is that the name of the guy that wrote the
I think
tapping
so. I think
solution?
so.
Nick
Yeah.
Ortner. The
Yeah.
tapping solution, I think, was the original tapping.
Yeah. That was the
Uh,
original one. And
yeah,
it's really effective for people.
yeah,
I
it is.
don't find it being um the end all be all, I think is what I want to say, but I think it's a really effective self-help tool if you're
Yeah,
really having a difficult time.
yeah,
You
one
know,
of many
and
tools.
another thing, and this is a brain spotting technique, if you're one to have panic attacks and you're feeling like you're starting to go there, you take like a pen or the pointer here and you look at the pointer and then you look through to the pointer to the back of the wall. And then you look at the pointer and then through the pointer to the back of the wall. And you just keep doing that, and you will eventually feel your nervous system calm down. There's something about the divergence of the eyes that helps you calm. So
Oh,
that's a brain
interesting.
spotting technique.
Oh, there you go. Now we
Yeah,
all know how to do that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Let's see. Gayla has had EMDR treatments. She said she found them exhausting. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Gayla, or if you have a question maybe for Renee.
Yes, kind of both. Excuse me. I did EMDR and it was very helpful for the flashbacks that I was
yeah,
having after finding my family.
yeah,
And I needed to be able to get back to sleep. I couldn't sleep because of it. And so it was helpful. We did flash technique and then we did EMDR. I
mhm,
only did about 3 EMDR sessions and I got a lot of mileage out of it, but it was physically exhausting.
yeah.
Like it would take me 3 or 4 days to
Mm,
recover
mm,
physically and emotionally. And
yeah,
so then I began to put it off, even though I felt like I needed to do more because I just couldn't
yeah,
gear up for how hard it was going to be.
yeah. I
But it
mean,
was
I
very helpful.
It's really helpful. And people sometimes do get exhausted with brain spotting, but that's why we try to titrate it. And so I don't go to the most activated spot usually with people. We'll go to a much more, we call it a resource spot where you feel it less in the body, and a spot that doesn't kind of bring it up too high for you, but that you're still kind of reprocessing things. But I'll be honest with you, people get tired after brain spotting too, because it's
Okay.
so somatic. Your body,
Yeah.
think of it as like a detox. You are
Mhm.
detoxing stuff out of you. And so people get tired, people get thirsty, but they end up feeling a lot lighter. But it's not
Yes.
for everybody. It's not easy all the time. So
I have one more question. I read about induced after death communication, IADC.
yeah.
How is this different or similar? Do you know?
Well, it's really interesting. Now I'm starting to see people, they do the IDC with EMDR, and now they're starting to do it with brain spotting. And it's not something that I've done yet, but I'm gearing up to. It's interesting. It's kind of like, oh, I'm still a client, and I want to be ready to take people there, but it's something I'm really intrigued, and people are using brain spotting to actually connect with their loved ones in the same way the IDC people do. So,
Okay. Very
yeah,
cool. Thank you.
sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Explain, I'll come back to Amelia's question, but Laura's asking, what is somatic healing? Like you've used that word a lot. So can you describe that for people?
When
Or
we have
Renee?
trauma of any kind, we hold it in the bodies. It's not just an emotional experience. It's not just a psychological experience. It's a somatic experience, meaning that we hold our trauma in the bodies, and our bodies also inform us as to how we're feeling. And so a lot of times people will cut off from their bodies, especially going through trauma, like somebody talked about dissociation. We will just cut off or shut down because it's too much. And so EMDR and somatic therapies, other ones, there's somatic experiencing and different ones, will help us get back in touch with our bodies, which gets us, I think, back in touch with our higher selves and information coming in, because our bodies hold all that. But our bodies also need to release what's not working for it anymore too. So usually my experience is the body will hold a bunch of either pain or pressure in the chest, and tears need to come. Somebody really needs to cry at that moment and release the emotion that the body's holding.
Mhm.
There's other times though that the neck will start aching. Or I had one client who her back was hurting so bad, and she remembered during a brain spotting session that somebody had pushed her really hard a lot when she was young, and she felt the pain in her back and her neck. But when she remembered the event happening to her and she was able to feel it and release it, she didn't have that pain in her back anymore. So a lot of our physical ailments can be emotionally based, and brain spotting hits that. It's like a laser. It will go right there. I don't know why. I wish I knew more of the science, but somehow we're very intelligent beings and our bodies are very intelligent. And when you focus in this way and you have the bilateral, it goes where it needs to go. So your
I
body can
think
release.
yeah, sorry. I think that's fascinating, but it's just like grief stores itself in our muscles and in our fascia system. And I mean, we all know that. I remember when I first discovered that. Um, I think some of you have heard my story. I was in a yoga class. I'm not a yoga girl, but I've always wanted to be a yoga girl. I just don't, my body doesn't stretch like that. But I was taking yoga. I'd like to get out of the house and try to step out of my grief, right? And I just would collapse in a bucket of tears every time because, with every downward facing dog, I would just collapse in a bucket of tears. And my teacher, God bless her soul, would come over and just hold me because she's sensitive soul and intuitive, and she understood what was happening. She knew just a little bit about my story. So it is that holding of the trauma or holding of the grief or holding of, the anxiety that acts out in our body physically. And when we're able to move it through us, then it disappears. I totally relate to that on that other level. There's just no question about that. And we have to cry and we have to move. We have to move all of this through our body, of course, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. Emilia is asking, is this similar to ART, which is accelerated resolution therapy? Have you heard of that?
I have. I have. It's similar. I think they all call on each other. I think it's different, but it's similar in how it's set up for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah, it's very similar. And the two I've done is EMDR and brain spotting. So I haven't done these other modalities. The other one that is actually really would be great for this community as well. I'm not trained in it, but it's somatic experiencing. It's gentle, really, really, really gentle, really, really slow. Like I have some people that I know that are just like a little bit neurodivergent, different brains, and they might not be able to do brain spotting, but they really get a lot of somatic experiencing because it's so slow and gentle. And I have one person I'm thinking of really clearly around that. So that's another thing to check into. Somebody who does somatic experiencing therapy.
Mm.
Um, I'll be honest with you, I'm a kind of pull the Band-Aid off kind of person, and that's how Ariana was. Let's just wham bam get it done. And so
Yeah,
it's the
get
brain
right down
spotting
to
works
it.
for me. It's fast and it's effective. But
Yeah.
some people really need slow, 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 really gentle. And somatic experiencing is a wonderful modality for that.
Do you think that has anything to do with the depth of the trauma? Like whether one would be called to one practice over another, or is that just a personality
I
type?
think it's the person.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it's the person.
Yeah.
You know, part of my work with people, I was really thinking about it when I was thinking about talking about it is, and I've always felt like I've had, you know, we all do. Everybody here has had to feel a tremendous amount of pain, like more than the average person, right? But me losing Timothy and then losing Ariana after I had, you know, spent so many years trying to help her, and just my own trauma and my upbringing, like I feel like I've been primed in a sense to help people feel their pain and to
Mhm.
help people realize they can feel it, they can release it, they can move on, they can have resilience. Because a lot of people, and I understand this, they don't want to feel, and it's too much and it's too hard, and I totally respect that, and I have a lot of compassion for that. And part of my work with people is showing them that they can in little bits feel, and they can be okay, and they can even be better and thrive.
Yeah, it can be scary to it can be
Very.
scary to, you know, tap a big toe into our feelings and then, ouch, that hurt, you know, and then to go deeper and deeper can be really scary for sure. But
Very
we're
scary.
brave. We are brave women and men on this grief journey, and we can do it. And there's so much. I always talk about moving to the other side of the pain. We're
Mhm.
always going to miss our loved ones. I don't need to launch into my stories, but you know, there is a place that exists on the other side of our pain, and that's where, um, I don't want to say that's where connection is because we don't have to go there to connect, but that's where freedom is and that's where peace is for me. My body speaks to me in pain. I mean, seriously, I don't like it. I keep saying, stop doing that this way. But it just seems to be, I guess, because I don't slow down enough to hear the messages. So they have to like
They get
bring
louder.
me
They
to my
get louder.
knees, you know what I mean? So anyhow, but that's something I'm working on. That's my own journey, right? To like to listen, even when I'm so overloaded that I don't think I have time. So
Right.
anyhow, yeah.
Right.
So what else do I see? What other questions? We have a question from Patty. Who do you look for to do these therapies? Well, you're looking at one of them, right?
Right. Right.
Yes.
There's um if you go on Psychology Today, something like that, that's more national, and you look up brain spotting or EMDR or somatic experiences, anybody who does it will come up, and you can put your area that you're in. Where I trained in California is the Pacific Trauma Center in, I think it's Sacramento. It might be El Dorado County, but near Sacramento, California. And if you go to them, they train people from all over, and they can also give you names if you want somebody local in your area. But people are trained all over, including Europe, in this. If you're looking for somatic experiencing, I think you would just go on the somatic experiencing national site and see, you know, the area that you're in and get. But Psychology Today is a good place to go because we have to kind of put in our specialties, and then you
Right.
can put your zip code in and find people in your area as well. Um,
So
and I,
you had said in your bio that the after Ariana's passing that your work with grieving people and anxiety and trauma has is becoming a bigger part of your practice,
yeah,
probably even a major part of your practice now,
yeah.
probably more so than family marriage counseling, I would presume,
Yeah.
based
Oh,
on
yeah. I don't even see couples like
so,
that
yeah.
anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which is so cool because it really is that finding our purpose or, you know, finding our purpose through our pain, right? And that's how you know too that Ariana is leading you and that,
Yeah.
you know, is that part of the soul planning contract between you, which is a whole different conversation for another day, but you must feel, well, tell me, how do you feel about that concept of
Definitely feel
finding
like my whole life, starting with Timothy, I knew way back then at 21 years of age, he just came in to give me a kick in the butt, and
Mhm.
he wasn't intending to be here. How did I know that? I mean, I feel like my whole life has been primed to do this work. And this is, you know, my life can be kind of chaotic. You know, we bought a house we're working on. I'm living out of this little condo and driving all over the place. My life can be chaotic, but my work always makes sense to me. It always is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I have to share something with you guys because I wanted to share this with you. So way back when I was like 34 when I had Ariana, and I was trying to get pregnant, and I think I was having, you know, it was taking some time. And so I thought I was pregnant, and talk about the sign game. I said, okay, I'm driving down the freeway and I go, okay, give me a sign that I'm pregnant with you, whoever you is. A stork-like creature, I kid you not, landed on the freeway in front of my car and drove, and then I knew I was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh my God. And then I got this immense feeling of love, and I started to cry. And I realize now that I've been connected to her for eternity. She's been there. She was there then telling me, yes, I'm coming in, and so it's just been a continuum of my life and my healing and then helping others. And when I'm sitting in the room with somebody, everything makes sense why I've been through what I've been through. So,
It's always it's hard because, I'm so grateful that you're here, but I know that you're not happy to be a part of the club. We all get that. But we're so happy that you're here and that you're a part of our tribe, and that you have these amazing gifts to offer to everybody. Honestly, even just in conversation, you have so much knowledge, whether they contact you for brain
right,
spotting or not.
right,
You're this wealth of information and this wealth of knowledge in that area of trauma, which so many people are living with, which is not good. I know that's your mission is you want to help people relieve themselves of those feelings related to trauma and anxiety and those types of things, right?
right. And just realize that even after we go through these horrific things that we've all been through, we can still enjoy our life, have joy and peace and even excitement about the future. And the grief will always be there, but we can have all these other things as well. And so,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think one thing exists alone, does it? We always have a multitude of emotions that we're feeling at any one given time. So it's really just part of it is time. Time doesn't make our journey. It doesn't make it, time doesn't make it better necessarily, but time eases the pain. And I think over time we can begin to see those glimmers of light, of hope that you're talking about, and being able to see how I remember the first time I was like excited for something and I felt so guilty. We've talked about this so many times. Or I remember the first time I went a whole day without thinking about Brian and I felt so guilty. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, recalling every memory I can, looking through books, I felt so bad that like I had abandoned him. And that's not the case at all. But time allows us those moments, those glimmers of, oh, oh, I can go a day without
right,
focusing on my grief and I'm going to be okay. And he's going to be okay because he knows that I have not abandoned him,
right,
right? Because he knows that. So
right.
anyhow,
And
yeah.
that's big. I think when you can
Yeah.
hold that and you can hold it longer and longer, that's what
Yeah.
I find. I'm a lot earlier on than you are, Paige.
Yeah.
It's been not 4 years yet, but I found this last year I could start to hold the fact that she's with me
Mm,
longer and longer. I used to like grab it and then I'd lose it, grab it and lose it. And I'd have to listen to all the podcasts and listen to everything and
yeah.
remember again. And now I can hold it for so much longer. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Yeah, that's just part of the journey. That's healing, it is a healing journey and it just but we got to do the work and that's what we're all looking for, right? Is ways to help us through that pain because there's so many resources out there. So
Mhm.
any more questions for Renee? I've tried to be a good interviewer. I
You
just know
did
so
great.
little about the topic, but the more I hear you talk about it, the more questions come to mind, which I knew would happen, and the
Yeah,
more interesting it is to me that whole concept of envisioning the outcome and focusing on that and reaching for that, because that's all who I am.
that's
As you
great.
know, I don't
That's
focus
great.
on the pain ever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, healing, Amelia says. Carrie says, very interesting. Thank you. Here's a question. Here's one more question. How can brain spotting help with dissociation, which April said she experienced with EMDR and
Yeah. I think with somebody who dissociates, I probably would not do brain spotting right away. I would probably do some other kinds of just helping somebody be in their body kinds of talk therapies and different modalities to just help the person kind of feel into the body again. And then I might do the expansion spot of what it would feel like if you were in your body right now. How would you want to feel if you were in your body? Not the terrible part of being connected to feelings and body, but how would you want to feel? How could this feel better than the dissociation? And we would do it that way. And we would find a spot for that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So if that resonates with you, April, you might want to give a shout out to Renee. How do people contact you, Renee?
I have a website. It's reneemillercounseling.com. On there is all my information.
And it's
And
Renee. I'll type it in
yeah,
the chat, everybody.
yeah, yeah, reneemillercounseling.com. I'm also on Psychology Today. I'm listed, I think I have 2 offices, and one is in Oakland and Fremont, and then I also work online. I'm kind of all over the place right now because I'm in transition. So you can also reach me through Psychology Today.
Counseling with 2 L's. I think I typed it wrong.
No, one L.
Sorry, everybody. I had a feeling I did it wrong. That's why I was learn how to spell. I'll delete that so it doesn't confuse people. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So sorry. What was the last thing that you said? That also Psychology Today they can find you at?
Right. I'm listed in Psychology Today in
Okay.
California, in Oakland and Fremont, California. So you can always get me, and there my phone numbers on there too, and my
Yeah.
website and my email. So, and I'm happy for you guys. This isn't so much just for me to get business. I'm really busy. I want you to know what's out there for you. And if you have questions or you want to process something with me around which way to go, or help you find somebody in your area, like I'm here as a resource for you to help in any way I can.
That's beautiful. And I remember that podcast that you did well, it's been 1.5 years, 2 years now.
Yeah.
If you resend me, because I know I watched them, but if you
Sure.
resend me the links for those, when I post the recording from today, I'll post the links to those podcasts if they're
Okay.
still live. Because if y'all want to get to know Renee better and her daughter Ariana and the relationship that they had and continue to have, you'll want to watch this podcast. It really is uh beautiful and inspiring. I told you that at the time, and I meant it 1,000%. I enjoyed every minute. I don't always watch the things that people send me, but I watched those and I loved them.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. I mean, it's well deserved. So if you resend me those, I'll post those in
I
the
will.
in the
Yeah, what I
post.
didn't say is Ariana and I were very connected in this life.
Yeah.
We were both Taurus with Gemini rising. We were
Oh.
born like 24 hours exactly apart. I was the 23rd, she was the 24th of April, and we just are very, very connected. I want to share something with you that somebody just did for me. I have a little memorial for her on Shatterproof. People that have lost their life to addiction, and she saw her picture and she painted her for me
Oh my
and
gosh.
sent it to me just
Oh,
because she wanted to. I
how
know,
lucky are you?
and
Wow.
that's my kid.
Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. That kid, she's very impish, elfish, and I just love
Yeah,
her.
like a little fairy.
I love
She's
the
like,
energy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. What a gift. My gosh. Yeah.
yeah.
Brian's birthday is April 26th.
Oh, he's a Taurus
He's
also.
also a Taurus
Oh, I know.
and a
I
life
always liked Brian.
path 8. And in the Michael teachings, he's a warrior. So it's
Oh
the poor
my
kid had no
God.
chance. No
Oh
chance.
my God. Well, he's living his path, right?
No, he's living his path for sure. He's really, as is Ariana and all of our kids and our loved ones in spirit. I know we have people here with spouses or sisters or other family
Yeah.
members in spirit as well. So they're all figuring it out. Let's see. Amelia says Shatterproof is a couple towns away from her in New Canaan, Connecticut.
Oh, wow. Cool.
All right, 2 people here from Connecticut, Jamie and Amelia. Y'all should hook up. Get to know one another. Both beautiful people. So, any other questions for Renee? There's lots of love coming your way in the chat. I don't think you're looking at it, but lots of love.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
And
you so much. Yeah,
yeah,
very good organization. Jamie. Hi, Jamie. It is a really good organization. It is. It's a wonderful organization.
Renee.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing
Good to
good.
see and hear you.
You know what? We have to say this. Jamie and I were walking your labyrinth in the Connecticut one, and her and I
Yeah.
were both like so emotional. And we didn't even know each other. I put my hand back and we held hands, and I
Oh.
feel like a connection to her so much from
Always.
Labyrinth walking.
Oh
Oh my
my
God,
gosh.
it was definitely, it was amazing. It was a
It
good
was
moment.
amazing. It was
I'm so
amazing.
glad that you had that experience to bond with one another and get to know each other that way. That labyrinth, any labyrinth, but especially that setting, that moment, I think the meditation we did beforehand, all of that contributed to it being an extremely powerful experience. So,
Yeah, very much
Definitely.
so.
we're not returning to that
Definitely.
venue, but I'm determined to find another venue that has a labyrinth.
Yeah,
So,
that was powerful.
yeah, yeah. Anyhow, hey, thank you guys so much for joining us today for the member spotlight. Next month we have, let me see, where are we at? October. Next month we have Gail Lynn, who is a new, let's see what I want to say. She's a medium who's trained with Kat for several years, and she's going to come on and help us, or not help us. Well, I don't know what she's going to do. Maybe she'll help us with some readings. I don't know, but share with us her journey through her grief and finding mediumship as her purpose going forward. And then we have some other great speakers coming up also in December and January. So it'll be fun trying to get back on track with this member spotlight. And I couldn't be happier than to have relaunched this fall with you, my friend. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure. It's so good to see all the people that I love and the people I don't know. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the pleasure's ours, and I'll post the recording in the group. You send me those links and we'll get it up, and then we'll see you guys. When will we see you? Soon. Check the events page in Transcending Grief. There's a lot coming up between now and the end of the year. You don't want to miss any of it, including two demonstration mediumship events that Kat is hosting for you in November and December at no charge. So it's going to be great stuff. So we'll see you then. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Thank
to
you,
see
Renee.
you.
I love you. Love
Bye.
you
Love you.
Love you.
guys.
Mwah.
Oh,
Bye.
Debbie.
Bye.
Hi.
Hi.